American presidents were people like you and like me, or at least that's how the founders intended them to be. Hi, my name is Teddy Abbey. Welcome back to my reoccurring segment where we're talking about the nicknames of the US presidents from the past. Last time we wrapped up the positive and negative nicknames of President number 17, Andrew Johnson, the first president to be impeached. Now, we're going to be talking about the three most popular positive nicknames of his successor, another general back in the White House, President number 18, Ulysses S. Grant. As with most of the military men who entered the White House, Grant's popular positive nicknames have to do a lot with his military service.
That's why he's a general and we ain't.
They were battlefield honorifics that got turned into nicknames that were used for the rest of his life. So instead, for positive nickname number one, we're going to choose something that's a little bit more humanizing of the man. If on his own name, he was called Uncle Sam Grant by his supporters. What's craziest about this positive nickname is that it highlights the fact that Ulysses S. Grant wasn't actually his birth name. He was born in Point Pleasant, Ohio as Hiram Ulysses Grant. The change in name actually comes from a mistake made by Ohio Congressman Thomas Hammer. You see, at the time, Grant was trying to get into the most prestigious war college in the country, West Point. But in order to do so, you must be nominated by a sitting congressman. And Thomas Hammer, unfortunately, misread Ulysses' name and put it down as Ulysses first, and filled in the S, and voila, Ulysses S. Grant. Despite the name switch up, Grant got into West Point. While there, fellow soldiers in training really picked up on the whole U.S. Grant, sometimes even calling him United States Grant. And then came Uncle Sam Grant.
Good old Uncle Sam, huh?
Many of you are probably pretty familiar with Uncle Sam, the caricature of the U.S. government in human form. I'm going to make a whole video about the origin of that character, but for now, back to Grant. Grant really preferred the change around in initials. USG or US Grant was definitely a lot better than Hiram Ulysses Grant, which spells out hug, which in the machismo culture of the United States military probably didn't earn him a lot of respect.
It's a funny name for a man.
But more than that, the swap from Hiram to Ulysses made his nickname a little softer, made him seem less like a stiff future general and more a guy you would be happy to fight beside, someone who just as easily could be your neighbor outside of wartime. And especially as he entered his political career and it got shortened to Sam Grant, it really helped connect with people outside of the military. The nickname is affectionate rather than majestic, and that's why it stuck. But with that out the way, we have to talk about his military-inspired nicknames, moving on into positive nickname number two, where he was called Unconditional Surrender Grant, another U.S. Grant nickname. This is arguably Ulysses' most common wartime nickname. See, in the early Civil War, Lincoln and the Union were having a tough time of it militarily. Partially because of a lack of preparation and a belief that the North would just quickly come to dominate the war, Lincoln and the Union Army struggled to make any forward progress and even were on the back foot with the Confederates marching northward and getting as far north eventually as Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. A frustrated Lincoln fired general after general. McClellan, Pope, and Burnside all got thrown to the wayside as Lincoln continually got frustrated with his generals for not pushing the Confederacy harder.
God! Lee has gotten away again!
General Meade felt his troops were exhausted, sir.
He had reinforcements the next day. Lee had none.
The torrential rain made it difficult for the general.
And impossible for Lee. He had his back to the Potomac. He was trapped. He was unable to get his army back to Virginia.
Again we had him in our grasp. We had only to reach out our hands and they were ours. But nothing I could say or do would make General Meade move.
Then came Grant. Make no mistake, he wasn't a one-man army, but he certainly did have the tenacity that Lincoln was looking for, and in particular, he had the ability to choose generals under him who shared his vision of how to win the war. But this positive nickname comes from early on in his military career there in the Civil War. It came directly from his response to Confederate Brigadier General Simon B. Buckner's request for terms of surrender at Fort Donelson in 1862. The war wouldn't end for another 3 years, and the Union had yet to get an upper hand, but Grant didn't care. His response was clear: unconditional surrender. Now, as the war continued on, and Grant moved up the ladder of the commanding generals of the Union's army, he didn't have the luxury of always demanding unconditional surrender. He did have to frequently negotiate terms rather than insist on absolute submission. But it was that first victory, that first response of unconditional surrender, that really stuck with him as a positive nickname, and politically, it was gold branding opportunity. Let's not forget here, we're talking about Grant not just as a military man, but as a man who would occupy the White House. And after the country's frustration with his predecessor in Andrew Johnson, it's easy to see how this military fame swept him into the most powerful house in the country. And as such, his third most popular positive nickname is more an amalgamation of nicknames. He was referred to as the hero of this battle, the hero of that. Whatever battle you happen to be in geographic proximity to during the Civil War, you would know Grant had some hand in the winning of it.
He's a hero!
The hero of Vicksburg, for one, because of its long, protracted siege, but realistically, his most popular nickname in this category is definitely the hero of Appomattox. Widely viewed as one of the closing events of the Civil War, Robert E. Lee, the commanding general for the remainder of the organized forces of the Confederacy, met Ulysses S. Grant at Appomattox Courthouse. Robert E. Lee's army of Confederate rebels had been beaten badly in the Battle of Appomattox and surrounded. Lee knew that his army was done. The Confederacy, as an organized resistance, was defeated. And Grant knew it too. You see, Grant had already been having conversations with Lincoln about what the military occupation of the South would look like as the Civil War wound to its inevitable end.
Once he surrenders, send his boys back to their homes, their farms, their shops.
Yes, sir.
And when it came to accepting the surrender of the South's most esteemed general, there was nobody better than Ulysses S. Grant to do it. Appomattox became a memoric symbol of national reconciliation after brutal fighting. And Grant's way of purporting himself in a plain, practical, free of humiliation politics manner earned him that honor. Make no mistake, Grant was no soft-hearted man. He had spent years grinding down the Confederacy's will to fight. But his ability to put that aside and focus on the broader national strategy of ending a war that had pitted brother against brother, it was worthy of being called a hero. Truly, Grant is worthy of all of these positive nicknames. But when the man entered the White House and the political field, that pragmatic general was unfortunately taken advantage of and suffered some serious scandals that generated negative nicknames. Once again, my name is Teddy Ebby. These have been the 3 most popular positive nicknames of Ulysses S. Grant, President number 18. Join me next time when we talk about his 3 most popular negative nicknames.